Wildcard weekend is here, and I'm back with 6 of my favorite plays on FanDuel and DraftKings, including some guys I think are underpriced, some guys I think have some big ceilings here. And what quarterback am I locking in? Not named Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. Belly up to the fantasy bar and find out. Welcome in, guys. Wild Card Weekend edition here. Beer's Daily Fantasy Six-Pack. Good to be back here once again in the Fantasy Bar, providing you 6 guys fresh off the tap on both FanDuel and DraftKings. Thank you, as always, for stopping by the Fantasy Bar. Now, before we get into the plays for Wild Card Weekend, guys, do me a favor. Click that thumbs up button. It means a lot. It helps us out tremendously here at RotoGrinders. So if you enjoy the video, you enjoy hanging out at the Fantasy Bar, that is all I ask in return. These videos are free, and I greatly appreciate the support there with the thumbs up. So, challenging you guys. Let's see how many we can get. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel and get notified when these videos are coming out. Now, before we jump into the playoffs, let's take a quick look back at our final week of the regular season in Week 17, and a so-so week. We had some spots that were not so great. Tunyon found the end zone, didn't do much. Corey Davis kind of quiet. Kiki Cutie was all right, but hit it big with our running backs and Deshaun Watson, all producing well above their prices. So we will turn the page here to the playoffs. I know the sites have things divided into 3 and 3, but there are some 6 full game slates you can play as well. Regardless, I like these guys in all formats. However, you are playing the NFL playoffs. Let's start at the wide receiver position. Guy I think has a massive ceiling. That's Chase Claypool of the Steelers. Now, the Steelers receivers, one of those things we always debate. Deontay Johnson, clearly the safest, a guy getting a bunch of targets. Juju, banged up, dealing with a knee injury, did not practice on Thursday as of this recording. So that may lead to even more opportunities. But even if he's in there, I still like Chase Claypool. He's getting targets in this offense. We know they love to throw the ball. 8 or more targets now in 7 of the last 10 games. Been very good against this Cleveland team, including last week in Week 17. Even with a backup quarterback, Chase Claypool did well, averaging over 21 DraftKings points a game against Cleveland this season. And we mentioned the ceiling. I want guys that can give me a massive output and greatly outproduce their salaries. And Claypool, one of those guys. And if Juju's in there, he is the cheapest of the 3 on both sites this weekend. So a lot of chatter out there. They're really going to unleash Chase Claypool here in the playoffs. To me, that's only the icing on top. Whether it's true or not, I don't really care. I've seen this guy do it. I know he can do it. This Browns defense is dealing with a lot of injuries. This team's dealing with a lot of COVID issues. I think Pittsburgh rolls here, and I think a big reason why is Chase Claypool here to lead us off in the mid-range. All right, let's go to the running back position. This one not going to be for everybody. We're going to go cheap here with Gus Edwards of the Ravens. Now, I get it. J.K. Dobbins, the big name, the sexy new toys, it says in the graphics in that backfield. You also have Mark Ingram there back in action last week. But I think Gus Edwards is going to be the forgotten man here. First of all, a lot cheaper, only $4,400 on DraftKings, under $6K on FanDuel. Does not need to do a ton to pay that price off. Ownership-wise, you're going to get a massive discount here on Gus Edwards. There's some running backs I think are going to be very highly owned on this slate. Guys like Akers, Carson. Edwards going to be a forgotten man, a great way to save some salary here. We got a massive total in this game. He's getting the workload as well, averaging almost 14 touches a game over the last 3 weeks of the season. You're thinking, 14 touches a game. At $4,400, at $5,700 on FanDuel, I'll take 14 touches a game any day of the week, especially against the Tennessee Titans. There was not a team in football that allowed more fantasy points to the running back position than the Tennessee Titans. So a great matchup, low ownership, and a cheap price. Add it all up, Gus Edwards, a great play this weekend across the DFS industry. All right, let's go to the tight end position. We're going to spend up as far as the position goes, but still pretty cheap here with Logan Thomas of Washington. Now, Washington, we know, big underdogs here in this game against Tampa Bay. You look at the passing game, and it's basically Terry McLaurin, the running backs a little bit, but it's a lot of Logan Thomas here as well, and it's kind of shown in the numbers. 10 targets per game over the last 5 weeks, a big 50 targets there for the math challenge for Logan Thomas. Double-digit DraftKings points, as you kind of expect with all those targets, but he's done that now in 9 of the last 11 games. So this guy really starting to develop right before our eyes. And when we look at that Tampa defense, we know they're very good against the run. They're not good against the tight end position. Bottom 5 in fantasy points allowed over the last 4 weeks and over the course of the entire season as well. So vulnerable in that spot. Washington probably throwing a ton. I don't care if it's Alex Smith, Tyler Heineke, does not matter to me. Logan Thomas, a big part of this offense, going to be a big part of my wild card builds here on both sides. All right, let's go to the running back position and spend some money this time. We're going to go right back to the well on Jonathan Taylor of the Colts. And this is another one I don't think is going to be for everybody. I think a lot of people expecting Buffalo to roll in this game. I think the Colts are good enough to keep this game close. And the way they do that is through Jonathan Taylor. Now, you got to pay up for him, no doubt, here in this matchup. Generally, I don't like running backs as road underdogs here, but I love the matchup here with Buffalo. Over the last 4 weeks, Buffalo has allowed the most fantasy points to the running back position. We know over the course of the season, they have not been good against this position as well. So I think you're going to see a heavy dose of Jonathan Taylor in this matchup with Buffalo. And the ownership, a lot lower than I expected it to be. I expected Jonathan Taylor to be one of the highest owned running backs, and maybe we get to that point once these games kick off. But initial run has him down the list a little bit. So highly encouraged by that he's not going to be heavily owned. Plus, played a ton of snaps, 84%, a season high in snaps last week against Jacksonville. Sure, this game could get away from them. You see a lot of Nyheim Hines, but again, I think they keep this game close. It's under a touchdown on the line, so we're not expecting a blowout here and can be involved in the passing game. Jonathan Taylor playing too well against an awful Buffalo run D. All right, back to the mid-range, back to a ceiling play at the wide receiver position. Another Raven for us, Marquise Hollywood Brown. Now, do you want Brown, Edwards in the same lineup? Maybe not. I don't hate it in a game stack, but the point is I like Brown here as well, so wanted to make sure I got him in the six-pack. First of all, pricing. He's all the way down to $5,400 on DraftKings. We look back, we got to go all the way back to week 12 in a tough matchup against Pittsburgh to find a cheaper price on Hollywood Brown. The touchdowns been there as well. Was kind of quiet to open the season, but 6 touchdowns now in the last 6 games for Hollywood Brown. And what a matchup this is for touchdowns, for wide receiver production, however you want to look at it. The Tennessee Titans not very good defensively, awful against wide receivers, and allowed the 3rd most touchdowns to that position, 22 on the season. Again, Hollywood Brown, a huge upside play at a very cheap mid-range price on both FanDuel and DraftKings. All right, it's time to take a look at my favorite play for Wild Card Weekend. But before we do that, as always, we're going to continue our Beast of the Week contest, absolutely free to play. All you got to do, get in the comment section right below the video and give me fantasy points on FanDuel for my favorite play. The closest guess will win themselves a free week of RotoGrinders Premium or a free RotoGrinders t-shirt. Without further ado, let's wrap up Wild Card Weekend. My favorite play, you know him as the Beast of the Week. All right, Beast time. I owe you a quarterback. We said it will not be Josh Allen. It will not be Lamar Jackson. We're going to go back to that Ravens-Titans game with Ryan Tannehill, this week's Beast of the Week. Now, let me be clear. I have no issues with Josh Allen, with Lamar Jackson. We know those are the 2 highest projected quarterbacks here. We know the ceilings that those guys possess. But I'm going to save a little bit here and go with Ryan Tannehill for a lot of different reasons. First of all, we talked about the high total in this game, the highest total we have on the board here. We talked about the Titans being underdogs in this game. That could lead to more passing opportunities. I know they want to run everything through Derrick Henry. They may not be able to do that here in this game against the Ravens. And even if they are, we've seen Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill have massive games together, and you get the savings, not quite as expensive as some of those other quarterbacks where you can spend some of that money elsewhere, maybe on a Steph Diggs, maybe on a Jonathan Taylor like we talked about. A lot of ways that you can spend money, maybe Alvin Kamara. The point is, I don't mind saving, so you add all that up. He's the quarterback that I want this weekend. I'll certainly have some Allen. I'll certainly have some Lamar Jackson, but Tannehill gives us a close enough ceiling to compete with those guys. You know, I'm not out of the mix with Ryan Tannehill. If those guys have big games, I'm not out of it because he can come as close to anybody on this slate to the ceiling that those guys may hit here, and been very, very good at home. And I know it's a limited sample. The limited sample police can stay at home in this one. He's been very good at home. In fact, all of his 30-point DraftKings games have come here at home. So, matchup as an underdog. We talked about the price. We talked about the ownership. We talked about the ceiling he possesses at these prices in this matchup. Ryan Tannehill, easily my favorite play on the weekend and this week's Beast of the Week. All right, that'll do it here for our wild card weekend 6-pack. Wanted to get some guys a little bit off the board. Wanted to get some guys with some big ceilings. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, but let's talk about it in the comment section. What do you like? What do you not like? If you have any comments, questions, feedback, also hit that comment section. And don't forget, fantasy points for Ryan Tannehill on FanDuel for your shot at some free RG Premium. Also, make sure you head over to RotoGrinders and check out the DFS OGs podcast with Head Chopper, Notorious, and myself breaking down the entire weekend. Favorite plays, favorite stacks, our favorite bets as well. And we've transitioned to NBA as well. You can head over to Grinders Live every Wednesday night to check us out talking some NBA. If you're looking for the podcast version where you don't have to look at my ugly mug, that is also available on RotoGrinders in the 6-pack podcast feed. For RotoGrinders.com, I am Beer saying salut, guys. Enjoy the playoffs. We'll be back one last time talking football next weekend. Well, good luck. Thank you, as always, for watching, and we'll see you.
Hey, thanks for checking out our videos. If you want more expert advice on DraftKings, FanDuel, or any other daily fantasy sports, make sure you check out the current videos playlist.